I'm Michael Hart, and I'm a singer-songwriter and guitarist, as well as recording engineer and producer, actually. It depends on the day and on the project. I'm based here in Los Angeles. I've been here about 20 years now. And before that, I was in Europe. I'm actually from the Middle East originally, but I was raised primarily in Geneva, Switzerland, and Vienna, Austria, as well as New York City, actually, somewhere in between. When I got out of school, I went to business college and graduated from there. And then I went to another school in Florida to learn about recording, audio recording, because I wanted to get into music. So I graduated from that school, and then I came straight to Hollywood and pretty quickly found work as an assistant engineer in a studio in North Hollywood. And I was pretty green when I started. I was basically thrown right into the deep end of the pool, right from the get-go. And I got to work on some pretty interesting records, some of which would be considered major, I guess, in terms of commercial success. And others were just interesting musically, and others yet were, just not even worth mentioning, so. I've always been a musician, first and foremost. And when I was working as an assistant engineer, the average day for me would last 12 hours long. And that's not counting the daily 2-hour bumper-to-bumper commute in LA traffic, which is enough to drive anybody crazy. So during these 12-hour-long marathon recording sessions, I would obviously take little breaks here and there. And I'd usually have a guitar nearby. So I would just sit in the studio lounge and just play. And inevitably, I would play along with whatever was blasting through the speakers next door. So I'd just be there playing, and once in a while, the producer or the artist whose album we were working on would, walk out to the lounge and see me playing, and they'd just kind of listen for a while. And eventually they'd just say, "This sounds pretty good. You want to come in and lay down a track?" Sure. So that's actually how it happened with Brandy. I was working with producer Rodney Jerkins and his brother Fred, and they were doing an entire album for Brandy at the time. And there's this one song on that album called "Almost Doesn't Count." And I remember the arrangement of the song, the track was still pretty sparse. There was not a whole lot of instrumentation on there. There was a lot of room to add. And I had my nylon string guitar with me, so I just grabbed it and came up with this part and ended up on the record. Everybody knows almost doesn't count. So anyway, after that, through word of mouth and through other people hearing my guitar work, I got invited to play on some more records. And some of those sessions were more memorable than others. Working with Will Smith, for example, was pretty great. He was a really, really cool guy. I worked with him for about 3 weeks, played guitar on a couple of songs, and I also did some Pro Tools engineering work. And I remember we'd play ping pong during these little breaks. There was a ping pong table in the studio lounge, and just do that to kind of relax. And I think he beat me, actually. So while I was working on all these sessions, with these different artists, I was learning. I was basically taking it all in, observing the pros, working, and basically learning how to make records, and to some extent learning about songwriting as well. And I was an aspiring artist myself, so I would write songs in my own time, and I wrote a lot of horrible songs, in the beginning, and I would demo them at my little 4-track studio at home, and I would foolishly send demos out to record labels and publishers and get shot down in flames, time and time again, just rejection after rejection. So, but eventually I got better. I worked at my craft, and I decided at some point I'm just going to do it myself, bypass the record companies. So I wrote about 30 songs over an extended period of time, and I chose what I thought were the best 10, and I put them on an album and released it on iTunes, you know. And I called the album Unsolicited Material, sort of as an inside joke, you know, in the sense that every single time I got rejected by a label, they'd send me the obligatory letter saying, you know, I'm sorry, we don't accept unsolicited material, meaning I had no formal representation, no agent, no manager, nothing. So there it is, you know, unsolicited material, whether you like it or not.
Baby, please make up your mind, 'cause we're running out of lies. And when he asks you where you've been, what you gonna say then? 'Cause we just can't go on living in sin. You know, sometimes I find it hard to breathe, just feeling you next to me. I feel so lost in you, you see. And I don't want anyone to find me. I'm gonna need all your love to hide me. I just wanna be lost in you. What are we fighting for? Can you show me to the door? 'Cause I can't take no more living in this damaged world. I don't wanna stay for the encore. I've seen it all before. I've had it with this damaged world. And I'm free, free. I'm finally free. Yeah. I'm finally free. Gonna fly to the sky, disappear out of sight. Yeah. It's all up to me, and I feel so.
This record is pretty much straight up a pop rock record, but I like a lot of other genres of music as well. And when it comes to music, I've always thought that my soul had these subdivisions in it. You know, it's like these little compartments, and each style of music that I like sort of lived in that compartment. And they're not really blendable with the others. You know, I tend to be kind of a purist when it comes to music. You know, I like my rock the way it is, and then I like other genres as well. And a good example of that is flamenco music from Spain, which I really love a lot of. And in the late 80s, I was lucky enough to meet and eventually befriend Paco de Lucia, who is, you know, arguably the world's greatest flamenco guitarist. And he was a huge influence on me. And through him, I was exposed to some other artists as well that are also excellent, like Canizares, who's a great guitarist, and Duquende, who's a great singer. Prior to that, I was, of course, listening to a lot of Camarón, you know, who was just legendary flamenco singer. And I also discovered Vicente Amigo, who's just an amazing guitarist. So that genre of music is definitely a big part of my life as well, even though I don't really pursue it, you know, as a career. I just had the privilege of playing this song live on stage with Bryan Adams just a few nights ago. Bryan is an artist I have a great deal of respect for, and been a fan of his for years. And the way this came about is a few months ago I emailed him a video clip of myself playing the song on the flamenco guitar. And I sent him a reasonably authentic version, you know, pretty similar to the way that Paco de Lucia played it on the original recording. And the song is called Have You Really Loved a Woman? And it was in the movie Don Juan de Marco, starring Johnny Depp. And luckily, Bryan liked what he saw and what he heard, you know, in the video, enough to want to play it live with me the next time he was in my neck of the woods, you know, California, which was just a few nights ago. So I went up to see him and brought my guitar and got up on stage and played the song. And there was no band actually, because he was touring acoustically. So it was just himself on acoustic guitar, and he had his piano player also, Gary Bright, who was also really good. So it was just the three of us on stage, and it was really special. You know, the audience responded really well, and it was a real thrill for me to be up on that stage with Bryan. You know, so it was great.